The night sky over the small alien colony of Vora 7 looked calm, but everyone on the ground already knew the truth. The calm was a lie. The shadows were moving. The mountains were shaking. And a deep sound, like a giant heartbeat, kept rising from the horizon. Children covered their ears. Adults tried to stay brave. But fear was everywhere. Inside the central tower, a young alien engineer named Lyra stared at the flashing red screen. Her hands shook as she tried to stabilize the signal transmitter. The machine was old, almost broken, and their enemies had cut most of their power lines. Still, she worked with the last bit of hope she had. She pressed the final button. A glowing blue wave shot into the sky. The distress signal had been sent. But she did not know if anyone would hear it. Her leader, Aaron the Los, walked into the room with sweat on his forehead. His face was pale, eyes empty, like he had already accepted death. "Did it go through?" he asked quietly. Lyra swallowed hard. I sent it. But the range is weak. I do not know if anyone is close enough." Aaron slowly nodded. "Then all we can do now is pray." Outside, the ground shook again. The enemy was getting closer. The enemy was not an empire. Not pirates. Not rebels. It was something worse. A species known only as the Harvesters. They did not want land, gold, or control. They wanted bodies. Alive. Or dead. It never mattered. They were already marching toward the colony walls, their massive frames glowing under the burning sky. Every step they took made the ground rumble. Families began to cry and scream. The colony's defense cannons fired, but the shots bounced off the enemy's thick armor like sand hitting stone. Aaron closed his eyes for a moment. He knew their defenses would not last. Their allies had abandoned them. Their government had left them to die. So many messages had been sent before, and no one ever replied. Until now, this message was their last hope. But even hope felt weak. Far away, in a quiet sector of forbidden space, a small human scout ship was drifting through the stars. The ship was called the Horizon's Edge, and its captain, Rylan Hayes, sat alone in the command room, scanning the empty dark. His crew was sleeping. They expected nothing tonight. Just another silent patrol. But then, Rylan heard it. A sharp beep. Then another. Then the screen lit up with a broken transmission. At first, it sounded like static. But after adjusting the frequency, Rylan froze in his seat. He heard a child crying. Then an explosion. Then someone screaming for help in a language the translator struggled to process. He hit the command alarm. His crew ran into the room, half awake, but instantly alert when they saw his face. "What is that?" his second-in-command asked. Rylan turned the volume higher. A voice whispered through the speakers. "Please, someone, we are dying, the sky is burning, they are taking us, please help." The whole room went silent. The distress call ended with a final sound. A small child whispering, "Please, save us." Rylan did not move for a moment. Then he stood up and spoke with a cold, serious tone. "Send this to Earth Defense Command. Priority level black." His crew exchanged shocked looks. Level black was the highest alert a scout ship could send. It meant extinction level threat. It meant no hesitation. It meant someone out there needed saving right now. Within minutes, Earth received the message. The reply arrived fast. It contained only 5 words. Mark coordinates. Do not engage. Rylan's heart began to beat harder. He knew what those 5 words meant. Humanity was not ignoring the message. Humanity was coming. And not with a small rescue ship. Not with a medical team. They were sending the Black Armada, the most dangerous fleet humans ever created, so strong that even Earth kept it hidden from the galaxy. Rylan looked at his crew. Prepare the ship. We are going to Vora 7. But sir, a crew member said softly, what if we are too late? Rylan looked back at the screen where the child's whisper still echoed in his mind. Then we make sure they are not alone. He pushed the engines to maximum. The Horizon's Edge jumped into hyperspace, racing toward a colony that thought no one cared. And had no idea what kind of force their small signal had just awakened. The sky above Earth Defense Command was filled with silence, but deep underground, the planet was waking up in a way the galaxy had never seen before. Massive doors, each taller than skyscrapers, slid open with a heavy rumble. Cold mist spilled out. Giant engines hummed. For years these hangars stayed hidden, locked away from the world, waiting for a reason to be unleashed. Tonight, the reason had arrived. The distress signal from Vora 7 had reached Earth, and humanity did not hesitate. Inside the main control bunker, Commander Arya Thorne, one of Earth's most feared military leaders, stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Her eyes were sharp, her voice steady, but everyone around her could feel the storm building behind her calm face. Activate Black Protocol, she ordered. Every officer froze for a second. It had been decades since anyone heard those words spoken out loud. Then the room exploded into motion. Holograms flickered to life. Sirens echoed. Pilots ran toward launch tunnels. Engineers sealed armored suits. Ships powered up with light that shook the ground. The Black Armada was awakening. These were not normal human ships. They were nightmares made of steel, built for wars humanity hoped would never happen. Each ship carried enough firepower to erase continents. Each fighter had AI systems older and smarter than half the galaxy's nations. But none of that frightened Commander Arya. What frightened her was the message she replayed again and again. The crying child. The burning sky. The begging voice whispering, please. Humans had heard that cry too many times in their own history. They refused to hear it again. Meanwhile, Rylan Hayes' ship, the Horizon's Edge, burst out of hyperspace near Earth. He jumped down from the pilot's seat, ran toward the main dock, and stepped out into a hangar filled with chaos. Pilots were shouting orders. Drones flew overhead. Mechanics connected giant cables into war machines glowing with blue energy. Rylan walked with purpose until he reached Commander Arya's station. She turned when he approached. You sent the signal? Yes, Commander. Describe what you heard. Rylan did not need to think. The memory was still raw. A colony begging for help. Families crying. Bombs hitting the ground. And, a child whispering for someone to save them. Arya's jaw tightened. Her voice turned colder. And the enemy? Unknown. But from their strength. I think they are harvesters. For a moment, the entire command deck went silent. The harvesters were a nightmare even among Deathworlders. A species with no mercy, no communication, no purpose except taking lives. Entire planets had disappeared because of them. Arya stepped closer and placed a hand on the control panel. Then we do not wait, she said. We send everything. The floor shook violently. The first wave of Black Armada ships began to rise. Outside, the sky turned bright white as dozens of Titan-class warships launched through the clouds and disappeared into the stars. They looked like floating mountains wrapped in armor. Energy shields glowed around them like halos. Fighter squadrons followed, hundreds of them, leaving long blue trails across the atmosphere. Earth's moon lit up with activity as hidden bases opened and released even more ships, stealth bombers, armored carriers, gravity tanks, and drones shaped like metallic birds. The galaxy had never seen this fleet before. Humanity had kept it secret. Tonight it would become a legend. Far away on Vora 7, the alien survivors waited in terror. Their city was half destroyed. Buildings burned. Smoke hid the sun. The harvesters moved through the streets like dark giants, dragging survivors away. Inside a damaged bunker, Lyra sat with the remaining children. Some cried softly. Others stared at the ground, too scared to speak. Aaron, covered in dust and wounds, entered the bunker with a grim face. "They are breaking through our last defense wall," he said. We have minutes." The bunker fell silent. Everyone believed this was the end. Lyra held a small girl close. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I tried." The ground shook again, so violently that dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra closed her eyes, expecting to hear the harvester roar. But she heard something else. A deep, powerful rumble from above, like thunder tearing open the sky. Aaron ran outside first. Lyra followed him. And then the entire colony froze. High in the sky, breaking through the clouds like giant shadows rising from the heavens, were colossal black ships, so many they covered the sun. Human ships. Thousands of them. The Black Armada had arrived. One alien whispered in disbelief. "They came." Another fell to their knees. A child pointed at the sky and said with trembling hope, "Those are humans. Humans heard us." As the massive fleet positioned itself above Vora 7, the lead ship opened its communication channel. Ryland's voice came through, deep and steady. "This is Earth Defense Command. Vora 7, you are no longer alone." The battle for Vora 7 was about to begin. The alien colony of Vora 7 shook as the Black Armada descended from the sky. For a moment, even the harvesters, the monsters who feared nothing, paused and looked upward. They had never seen ships like these. Human ships did not flash bright colors or display banners. They did not broadcast warnings or heroic speeches. They moved in complete silence, like predators that already knew the outcome of the hunt. The largest warship, the Eclipse Monarch, hovered above the battlefield and cast a giant shadow over the burning cities. Its dark metal armor absorbed sunlight like a black hole. Smaller ships circled around it like loyal wolves. Inside the command room, Commander Arya Thorne stood tall, her eyes trained on the holographic map showing harvester positions. "Release the first wave," she ordered. Her voice was calm. Her soldiers' faces were cold. And humanity's fury began. The first strike. The sky cracked open as thousands of drones dropped from the human ships. They did not look like machines. They looked like metallic birds, each with glowing wings that sliced the air. They moved with frightening speed, scanning targets and locking onto harvester groups. A single command from Arya triggered everything. The drones surged downward. Light exploded across the colony. The ground flashed white. The harvester front line, once so confident and unstoppable, broke apart instantly. Their armor, which had resisted everything before, melted like wax under the precision of human plasma cutters. Vora 7 survivors stood frozen. These humans did not fight like other species. They did not test the enemy. They ended the enemy. Ryland leads the ground assault. Ryland Hayes, wearing reinforced command armor, landed at the edge of the ruined city with a squad of elite human soldiers. His boots hit the ground with force. Dust scattered around him. The air smelled of smoke and burning metal. As soon as he stepped forward, 3 harvesters charged at him, huge monsters, taller than vehicles, their claws glowing red. Ryland raised his arm. A drone responded instantly, placing itself between him and the monsters. With one sweep, it fired a beam that sliced through all 3 creatures in a single shot. They fell like trees. Ryland kept walking without slowing down. Vora 7 aliens watched him as if he was made of steel. They whispered among themselves. "Humans, they are terrifying. Maybe they really are Deathworlders." Some were scared. Some were grateful. But there was one thing they all understood. Humanity was not here to lose. The counterattack. The harvesters were not used to being overwhelmed. They roared in frustration and gathered for a counterattack. Hundreds of them rushed forward, forming a black wave of claws, metal, and rage. Commander Arya saw the enemy movement and pressed her palm against a glowing panel. Deploy Titans. The ground trembled. Humanity's walking giants emerged, Titan mechs, each one towering over buildings, built from dark steel and glowing blue cores. Their footsteps crushed abandoned vehicles. Their cannons hummed with deadly energy. One Titan stepped ahead of the others. Its pilot spoke through a loudspeaker. Harvesters, retreat now. This is your only warning. The harvesters ignored it. So the Titans fired. Beams of pure energy tore through the enemy ranks. Explosions lit up the streets. Buildings shook as the ground turned molten under the impact. Within minutes, the harvester army had been reduced to smoking pieces. Inside the enemy ship, Rylan and his squad pushed forward until they reached the harvester command vessel, an ugly, bone-like structure that pulsed like a living creature. Rylan placed a charge at the entrance and stepped back. Boom! The door blew open. Inside, they found the harvester commander, a massive creature with glowing red eyes and a body covered in armor-like plates. It hissed, its voice deep and distorted. You humans destroy everything you touch, it growled. Rylan pointed his rifle at the creature. No. We destroy those who destroy others. The commander lunged. Rylan fired. The creature collapsed with a heavy thud, its red eyes fading into darkness. Human soldiers quickly moved through the ship, planting charges and destroying every control node they found. Moments later, Rylan exited the ship and gave the order. Detonate. A giant explosion lit up the sky as the harvester command vessel burned and fell apart. The enemy forces across Vora 7 froze and then collapsed, leaderless and defeated. The colony seized their heroes. As the dust settled, alien families crawled out from shelters, blinking through the smoke. They stared at the humans who stood between them and extinction. Lyra, holding the child she had protected, looked up at Rylan and whispered. You saved us. Rylan removed his helmet. His face was tired, covered in dust, but steady. You called. Humanity answered. The alien survivors gathered around, some crying, some kneeling, some staring in disbelief. For the first time since the war began, they felt safe. But Rylan knew the battle was not truly over. The galaxy would hear about this. And the Black Armada was just getting started. The fires on Vora 7 slowly died as the last harvester engine collapsed into silence. Smoke drifted across the broken streets like dark fog. But above all the destruction, the massive human ships hovered calmly, shields glowing, engines humming, like guardians watching over the wounded planet. For the first time since the colony was attacked, the air felt still. Safe. Alive. Rylan Hayes stood at the edge of the ruined plaza, looking across the battlefield. Human soldiers moved through the streets, helping survivors, pulling rubble apart, lifting injured aliens onto medical platforms. The same hands that destroyed an army were now treating strangers with care. The aliens watched in awe. One survivor whispered, "How can they be so gentle, after fighting like that?" Another responded, "Maybe that is why they are strong." Rylan walked with slow steps, his armor scratched and burned. His visor was cracked. His arms ached. But he did not stop. He checked every crowd, every bunker, every hole in the city until he knew no survivor was left behind. Commander Arya Thorne arrived beside him, her long black coat stained with dust. "Harvester signals are gone," she said. "The colony is safe." Rylan nodded, but his voice carried something deeper. They were preparing a full planet sweep. If we arrived even 1 hour later. Arya finished the sentence for him. There would be nothing left. They stood there for a quiet moment, watching human medics tend to alien infants and elderly survivors. The contrast was powerful. Humans, feared across many worlds, kneeling in the dirt to treat small injuries with steady hands. Vora 7's leader, Aaron the Los, approached them, walking slowly with a limp. His eyes were red from smoke and grief, but also filled with gratitude. "You saved us," he said in a trembling voice. No one else came. No one even answered. Why? Why did humans respond when everyone else turned their backs? Rylan did not hesitate. "Because we heard you," he said simply. "And because no one deserves to be alone against monsters." Aaron bowed deeply, something his people rarely did. His voice broke as he spoke. "Your strength is frightening. But your compassion is even more frightening." Arya placed a hand over her heart. Humanity fights hardest when someone cries for help. The colossal departure. By noon the next day, the sky darkened again, but this time with hope. The Black Armada prepared to leave. Dozens of Titan-class warships rose into the sky like mountains lifting off the ground. Thousands of drones flew upward in concentrated formations, drawing bright blue lines through the atmosphere. The engines of the Eclipse Monarch pulsed with power, rumbling across the colony like distant thunder. The aliens watched with wide eyes. Some cried. Some reached out their hands. Some took pictures, knowing they were witnessing history. Lyra stood with the children she had protected, all of them wrapped in blankets given by human medics. When she saw Rylan walking toward the boarding ramp, she called out. "Will you come back?" Rylan turned, a calm smile on his tired face. "Not unless someone needs us. Humans do not stay where we are not needed." The small girl beside Lyra ran forward and hugged his leg. Rylan froze, then gently knelt down and hugged her back. "You came because of my voice, did you hear me?" she asked softly. Rylan nodded. "I did. And I will never forget it." The child smiled, but her eyes were wet. "Thank you." Rylan stood and walked toward his ship. As he ascended the ramp, Commander Arya made one final announcement to the colony, her voice echoing across every communicator. "Vora 7 is under human protection. Anyone who tries to harm this world again, will face the Black Armada." Her words were not loud, but they shook the hearts of everyone listening. Then the fleet vanished into the sky. The galaxy reacts. Days later, the galaxy felt different. News spread fast, faster than light routes, faster than official reports, carried by fear, shock, and awe. Every major empire played the battle footage. The silence of the Black Armada. The perfect formation. The Titans crushing an army. The drones slicing through harvester armor like paper. Rylan standing in the flames, speaking those 5 unforgettable words. "You are no longer alone." Across dozens of planets, leaders trembled. Armies reviewed their technology. Spies scrambled for answers. Some species whispered. Humans hid this power, on purpose. Others said. They do not conquer. They protect. That makes them dangerous.